The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up tonight, what's the real story behind the transfer of operations when it comes to power supply on Grand Bahama? Emera, the company identified to take over, says no agreement has been reached as yet. Meanwhile, opposition leader Michael Pintard says Grand Bahama residents are still waiting to see real results, even in the face of all the announcements made by Prime Minister Davis. And Nurses Union President Muriel Lightbourne says Health Minister Dr. Michael Darville is lagging when it comes to public health care. We speak with her this evening as well. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. Well, there is new debate on the Prime Minister's announcement to transform energy in Grand Bahama. Yesterday, Prime Minister Davis announced the government's intention to acquire the Grand Bahama Power Company by bringing in an independent company to transform energy on Grand Bahama. But did the Prime Minister speak prematurely? Jose Etienne has the answer to that question.
Emera executives declaring tonight that what could be taken as definitive action by government following its announcement yesterday to acquire the Grand Bahama Power Company remains business as usual. In a statement, executives noted that, quote, there is no final agreement at this time, but the Davis administration is heralding its move to acquire the GBPC as a game changer for the island's energy sector, despite caution by Emera suggesting that officials need to pump the brakes. Now, during his press briefing on Tuesday in Grand Bahama, Prime Minister Philip Davis noted that the memorandum of signing with the Canadian-based company is still in the works.
When completed, this would mark the first time the government of the Bahamas has the control over the power company since the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement was signed.
But opposition leader Michael Pintard seems far from sold on government's fitness to take over.
This government is in charge of power for the rest of the Bahamas. How well are they doing with that? Because the truth is, we still have disruption in power supplies in a number of locations, most notably in Maikal, most notably in Eleuthera. There's very little interest, I believe, or confidence that they're going to do any better than the power company, which in our view is not doing good.
Pintard's concerns reflect that of a number of Grand Bahamians who spoke to Eyewitness News anonymously about the signing with Emera while we were on the ground for government's cabinet meeting on Tuesday. But they're also curious about the road ahead, given that residents say they've been saddled with soaring power bills, an issue government is promising to seize the reins on.
It will result in universal electricity rates across the Bahamas, ending a long-standing disparity between Grand Bahama and the rest of our country.
And how soon will relief be felt?
As soon as the transaction is closed. And we estimate it will take about 60 to 90 days for closure.
Here's where things get interesting. Government is looking to own and operate electricity in Grand Bahama while an ongoing Supreme Court battle looks into whether the Grand Bahama Port Authority or the Utilities Regulatory and Competition Authority has ultimate supervisory authority over Grand Bahama Power. Government has insisted, though, that it is the sole regulator.
For too long, the economic engine of Freeport was operated under arrangements that no longer reflect the needs or expectations of the people who live and work here. That is why we have chosen to challenge the status quo with the Grand Bahama Port Authority.
The move to acquire GBPC comes as government has undertaken an aggressive energy reform plan, and that too was initially controversial as there were concerns about Bahamas Power and Light being privatized while Pike mobilized its fleet citywide. Now, it is believed that the acquisition will open the door for BPL to move its operations in Grand Bahama. The next step, however, is addressing union agreements and staffing levels. Jose Etienne, Eyewitness News.
And the Grand Bahama Power Authority says that establishing its power in the power deal. In a new statement issued this afternoon, the company asserted that any move to change ownership or control of the Grand Bahama Power Company cannot happen without the consent of the Grand Bahama Port Authority. GBPA says discussions remain preliminary and non-binding until any approval is sought and granted. It is business as usual for electricity service on Grand Bahama. Meantime, Prime Minister Davis is pushing back against Free National Movement Deputy Leader Shannon Cartwright, who called the government's announcement on Grand Bahama contradictory to the statement issued by Emera. Of course, you know that statement was issued earlier today. Now, while in Grand Bahama yesterday, we all saw Prime Minister Davis said the government has begun the process to acquire GBPC, with the deal expected to be finalized within 60 to 90 days. That's about 3 months. Cartwright, however, argued in the House of Assembly that a statement from Emera is suggesting otherwise. Davis is accusing the opposition of attempting to create mischief instead of supporting what he described as positive forward movement for Grand Bahama.
Emera's note does not contradict anything that I said. Their concern was, in their view, I ought to have waited until they would have told their staff about the arrangements. They wished to have done it. That's what that note is about. And if you followed what I said, look at exactly what I said, there's no contradiction. And even when I was asked by reporters, when will the deal will be completed? I indicated, and it's in the newspaper as well, that it will be anywhere up to 60, 90 days for final completion. So where's the contradiction? And why do you think you're trying to find something to make hay out of? You all should be happy that there's an effort being made to bring relief to the residents finally to the residents of Freeport, when you all didn't even lift one finger to do so.
Well, that is exactly where we jump in this evening. Should the approach be happiness? Because after all, an effort is being made to bring relief to the residents of Grand Bahama when it comes to power supply and the cost of power. We all know that there have been a number of demonstrations recently as it relates to power supply and the fact that there's been a request for an increase in power. People were quite upset about that. The Prime Minister said, man, hold up with what you're all saying. I didn't say anything that contradicts the statement. And then Emera, though, is saying, wait a minute, slow down. There's nothing in black and white, nothing that says this is the absolute deal. And so they spoke out to perhaps not cause any anxiety among their staff. And so we're going to jump in right there this evening. Is this much to do about nothing? Or is it like, Prime Minister, slow down. Let's just walk one step, one foot in front of the next. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. My contributors, Cassia Stewart, Gabrielle McKinsey-Inius, and Howard Johnson. Good evening to each of you and welcome to tonight's show.
Good evening, Shanique. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Good evening, Shanique, and good evening, Bahamas.
Howard, you might be muted. Listen. So let's just talk. Let's jump in right immediately, guys and lady. Is the Prime Minister say, listen, something is being done to help bring relief to the residents of Grand Bahama who have begun to be very up in arms, really, over the last several months because of increases to electricity rates and power supply that became, quite frankly, something they couldn't depend on?
Well, Shanique, I think the people of Grand Bahama are frustrated because a lot of promises have been made in the past from both administrations, and they haven't seen the progress they need. I think, though, that the Prime Minister is the one who's steering the ship. And so if he is saying that something is happening, then he knows something is happening. He may know that a deal may be a good deal. So he may have been saying that, listen, we've concluded in principle the deal. And so we just have to make sure ink out the rest. And so the whole argument, though, I always like to take it from a different angle. The whole argument here is energy. And when you look at energy costs and bringing down energy costs, the Bahamas and Grand Bahama stores one of the largest oil facilities in the Western Hemisphere. The Liberton Groups, which was a subsidiary of Norway Group, right now we hold more oil, we store more oil than just about anyone in the Western Hemisphere. You hear that? In the Western Hemisphere. We don't have an oil refinery in the Bahamas. We could have refined those same oil there, and gas prices could have been 10 cents. But we're so smart that we store all this oil in the Bahamas for a foreign company, a country, but we don't use it. And so we have no engagement to say, listen, we will store your oil, but we also need to refine some of that so that we can have cheaper energy costs. There's no reason why energy costs in Grand Bahama, New Providence, Long Island, Eleuthera is high. Because we got it. We got it. The Liberton Group is in Grand Bahama, the largest oil storage facility in the Western Hemisphere, in the Bahamas. But we don't refine the oil, and we still go buy oil from somewhere else, and we're still suffering.
It all boils down, again, Gabrielle, to how we negotiate. When we go to the table, the heads of agreement, what is it that we demand is in place?
See, Norway is perhaps the richest country in the world, and they store their oil through this Liberton Group in Grand Bahama so that they could sell oil to different countries right from the Bahamas. So they do this international trading of oil. If it's in our country, then why aren't we saying to them, listen,
we should get a piece of that.
We want to refine some of that because, of course, there are the different derivatives of oil. So when you refine oil, you get kerosene, you get gasoline, you get tar, you get about 6 different derivatives of oil. We want gasoline. We want cheap gasoline. We want cheap kerosene. We could do it. We got it. But we just don't have the leaders to make sure negotiate.
Cassius, that sounds all well and good,
It
but
is
how
good.
does that affect our carbon credits when we're talking about moving toward an
You talking about
energy,
this carbon
an
for carbon
eco?
credits?
We're talking
You know, I believe
about
carbon credits is garbage,
We're talking
right?
about, but that's what the prime minister is moving toward. So you're talking
it's
about
garbage.
refining energy now and oil and all these things, but the prime minister is talking about an eco-friendly Bahamas. So that doesn't align with their agenda. The second thing is that it is a great thing for Grand Bahama, anything that can lower the cost. But I do agree with the company that we need to pump the brakes on it. There's nothing in black and white. You have this deal, you have the agreement tied up in court with who is the actual body that governs the power company. So I think it was done prematurely. I think we see a tone switch in the prime minister's speeches. I don't know if someone else is now writing them. I think he needs to go back to that original step that he always had at the beginning of his administration, coming to the Bahamian people. Don't get sidetracked, caught up in all of the political rhetoric, because he had a tone at the beginning of his administration that lured the Bahamian people to him. I think if he stays on that track and tell his speechwriters, I see you put this in here, but I ain't gonna say it, and keeps moving, he's going to be okay.
Shanique, can you hear me?
We can, go ahead.
Yes. So, Shanique, this is a classic example of where political expediency and political pressure clashes with the decorum and protocol of private enterprise. And so Emera wants to do business, and they want to do business the right way. And the prime minister, feeling the pressure and campaign season being upon us, wants to ensure that he calms all of the fears of Grand Bahamians as we approach this general election. And sometimes those things, they diverge, right? Instead of converge. And so what we see is that's happening is there's a different set of talk from one group, and there's a different set of talk from another group. I don't think it's much ado about nothing. What I think the prime minister should have done was said nothing, because now this has opened up a can of worms. Mm-hmm. Yes, you know, some projects have stalled, things haven't gone the way they were supposed to with several things. There's been misspeaks, missteps, timelines that haven't been met. And so when you feel that pressure, now you can make even more mistakes. The prime minister didn't have to say this. I don't think that the Progressive Liberal Party nationally has anything to worry about at this moment with the Free National Movement beating them to the finish line and winning the government later on in this year or whenever the election is called. So with the prime minister, this has been a terrible past 24 to 36 hours for the Progressive Liberal Party, in my opinion. And the Prime Minister just needs to slow down. He needs to slow down. So I'm going to cover both sides real quick. The Prime Minister needs to slow down and keep doing what he is doing and trying to right-size Grand Bahama and bring that economic relief. But you can't expect for everybody who is sitting at the table with you to abide by the political realities and the political pressure that you're faced with. The opposition, they seem to see an opening where they can gain grounds and get some political capital on their side. But what they need to do, however, is say, hey, in the face of this mistake that the Prime Minister is making, here's how we're going to go it different. Don't just recite what's going wrong. Everybody knows what's going wrong.
Amen.
Everybody can see it. Don't just recite, but you need to say, here's how we would have done this differently had we been the government of the Bahamas.
Yeah, good point.
Well, I'll tell you this, Cassius, I see you want to jump in right there, but I want to get in a comment, and I thank you all for participating every time, and I try to get your comments in to bring it into the discussion, so you can hold that thought right there, Cassius, for a moment. This person says, any hope of potentially light bills in Grand Bahama decreasing is welcomed. It's the main cause of business closures in Grand Bahama.
Not only in Grand Bahama, and throughout New Providence, because, you know, we've been having your light bill is more than your rent in New Providence. I mean, the light bill has been crazy, and so that kills the manufacturing sector, because how could you manufacture products when the light bills are so high? And so we've been fighting this on both sides, but, you know, we have to find a way to bring the cost of energy down. And the cost of energy is fuel. And where do we get fuel from? Who buys the fuel? Who's making the money on that end? So we got to follow the trail. And so, you know, we have to be sensible when it comes to long-term projections. So this year is basically a short-term project we're talking about, whether or not we're going to get it. And I think the Prime Minister can navigate his way out of this landmine. It's just...
Well, speaking of, Cassius, if you know, something that we didn't get to, and I didn't get to in shows from Monday, but at the weekend, speaking of real results and relief in the long term, you also, a tour took place at the Blue Hills solar plant. That's something that is happening very quietly behind the scenes. So this Blue Hills solar plant is making great progress. I imagine us here in New Providence and elsewhere where BPL gives power, certainly, of course, are awaiting that and seeing what a difference that will make, gentlemen and lady.
No, I mean, we go for a break. But no, I think the solar plant, I think they're doing something in Lutra as well too with solar. So I think quietly though, I mean, you can't do these things quietly. You need to let the nation know what you're doing. Solar is a step in the right direction, but I think we have to find a way to bring the cost of fuel down. And so we're seeing now the cost of energy going down in the United States, where gas is almost like by $2 a gallon. And so that, you haven't seen that in almost 20 years. And so that means that we could find a way to bring the cost of fuel down so that BPL could buy fuel cheaper, so that they could provide energy cheaper. In Grand Bahama, they could do the very same thing. And so, but we have the solution in our hands. We just don't use it.
Another very insightful comment. It says, listen, tell Cassius the oil storage facility in Pindus Point, that's what you were talking about, Cassius, was once a refinery. There is a reason that refinery is closed. Also, here's this point, an MOU is not a contract, but an agreement in principle. Howard, you will have the first word when we come back after the break. This is Beyond the Headlines. We're just getting started. Speaking of which, you talk about the opposition and what they're not saying, Howard. Well, I'll tell you what Michael Pintard is saying tonight. He says, listen, Brave Davis, PLP, too much talk. Beyond the Headlines is backward after this.
January means business.
Comfort Suites Paradise Island is the best kept secret in the Bahamas. Located directly next door to the Atlantis Resort, you'll receive all the privileges of an Atlantis guest with all the benefits of a Comfort Suite stay. Enjoy everything Atlantis has to offer, including Aquaventure Water Park, plus all the amenities of Comfort Suites. Free Wi-Fi, free breakfast daily, and kids stay, play, and eat free. Visit ComfortSuitesPI.com.
Okay, guys, this what we doing today. We training for the bounce back. This 150K payday. Y'all ready? Yes. Y'all sweating today. Give me a 2 ball. 10. Give me another 2 ball. 15. You spin, right? It don't look so. It's 10K. Name these games after me. Fruit Dragon.
Fruit Dragon.
Cinema Classic.
Cinema Classic.
Yeah. Put that parlay in. Put that in. You know, Jalen Brunson disappointed us last time. You want to walk for this or you want to run for this? Good pace. Good pace. Not too much water. Hit it down. Let's go.
It's the Bounce Back 150K payday. Big wins for 10 weeks straight. 15K every week. 10K to a lucky winner. Visit islandluck.com for more info. Island Luck. Winners live here.
Welcome to Paradise Premium Foods, where exceptional taste meets everyday convenience. Right in the heart of Hurricane Hole Plaza, whether you're planning a beachside brunch, an intimate dinner, or simply restocking your favorites, we offer only the finest selection of local and imported goods, handpicked for quality, freshness, and flavor. At Paradise Premium Foods, shopping is effortless, service is personal, and every visit feels like a treat. From gourmet meals to go to organic essentials and indulgent treats, this is your neighborhood market elevated. Live well, eat better. Discover Paradise Premium Foods, now open at Hurricane Hole Plaza, Paradise Island. Paradise Premium Foods. Taste the difference.
The Parliamentary Registration Department wishes to inform the public that the National Voter Verification exercise is currently in progress. Verification confirms your voter details, reduces errors, and strengthens the integrity of the country's electoral system. Head to your nearest verification center with your Bahamian passport and your voter's card to get verified and be ready to cast your vote on Election Day. Your vote is your voice. One Bahamas, one vote, verified.
This segment is brought to you by EV Motors Fleet Sales Division. For 2026 commercial vehicles, call 821-2403 today.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. It's good to have you all tuned in. Thank you all so much for participating and obviously your comments. As I see them, I get to them and add them to the discussion this evening. Now, before we move on, because the leader of the opposition has some strong words as it relates to what is being announced and what was announced even yesterday in Grand Bahama. We'll get to that in a moment, but Howard, I want to quickly get you in. I know you wanted to jump in on something before we move into this, or you would rather me go here and you speak?
I just wanted to quickly say that I don't like that, the governments in developing countries getting themselves involved in the ownership of public utilities. I believe that the current government of the Bahamas and future administrations need to continue a concerted effort of offloading public utilities, because we'll say that, oh, well, if the government gets involved, we can lower rates, etc. But then you pay a price on the back end. Utilities companies the world over are now improving their grids, right, and their generation, and that's something that's future-proofing, right? And so they're improving their grids, They are spending an enormous amount of money. They're accumulating debt, and they're debt financing to do all of these things that are necessary to continue into the 21st century. And guess what? What's the only business that can go into debt and not go out of business? The government, right? Mm-hmm. The government will not go out of business. But when you debt finance and you continue to provide subsidies to utilities when you own them, now the current and future generations of Bahamians on the back end are going to pay that price in taxation. So no, I don't like it.
No, you make a point, but also developing nations like the Bahamas and the region perhaps would see it as a necessity that government sort of drive certain industries and utility companies in particular. But we'll move on, guys, because I want to get to what the leader of the opposition is saying. He says, despite the grandiose announcements and multi-million-dollar plans, Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard says Grand Bahamians are still waiting to see real progress, from the airport upgrades to cruise pier developments and the Grand Lucayan redevelopment. Pintard warns that promises alone are not enough. We get this story from Linton Ritchie Jr., and then we come back and get some responses.
Opposition Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard says he's not sold on several of the Davis administration's so-called transformational plans for Grand Bahama aimed at reviving the nation's second city. From energy reform to airport and cruise pier development and commitments to honor previous agreements, Pintard says Grand Bahamians remain skeptical.
He has not made progress on the airport. It's either they had $120 million in the bank and we don't know where it is now, so tell us where the money is, or they didn't have it in the bank. We will support. We just need to understand the particulars. The MSC is already in the Grand Bahama market.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Philip Davis pushed back against criticism on Tuesday over delays in the redevelopment of Grand Bahama International Airport, saying talks are moving into the groundwork phase. But Pintard says residents are still in, quote, wait-and-see mode, with little confidence that promises will turn into progress.
We have made more progress since Dorian and the time we were kicked out of office. He still has not told us whether he has a design for the airport, exactly where the location is going to be, whether or not he's going to keep the same footprint.
Davis told reporters that the main construction firm has now been mobilized and that other contractors have begun on-site preparations, meaning the project has missed its April 2025 Phase 1 completion target. The opposition is also criticizing the administration over the lack of movement at the Grand Lucayan Resort nearly 1 year after a heads of agreement was signed with Concord Wilshire for an $800 million redevelopment. When pressed about the delay and the absence of clear timelines, Prime Minister Davis called the transaction complex, but said his government is making, quote, steady progress.
Now you tell the public it's such a complex deal. No, your story is complex and we don't believe you. What is the plan with respect to the Grand Lucayan? Workers have been complaining that they have not been paid. Even now they are behind on payments to workers.
As for the newly announced MSC Cruise Pier Complex and Beach Club at Billy Key in Freeport Harbor, a project estimated at $450 million, Pintard says the F&M welcomes the investment, but wants to see how much benefit will reach ordinary Grand Bahamians.
We just need to understand the particulars, and we don't know the deals. It's a known entity in the Bahamas that has economic might, and so we believe that it's very possible that they can do some things that are potentially transformative.
Still, the F&M says the latest round of announcements did little to lift morale on the island, arguing that residents need to see shovels in the ground, not just new plans on paper. Linton Ritchie Jr., Eyewitness News.
Prime Minister Davis, ahead of those criticisms, had a few choice words for the opposition, who he says repeatedly used the deal and other investment opportunities facilitated by his administration as a tax on the work that they're trying to get done and the administration's credibility. Davis asserted, however, that his administration will deliver on what has been promised.
The criticisms coming loudest from those who created the problem, they should hang their heads in shame and gratitude. We are only concerned with the development of Grand Bahama, not the incompetent political scammers who brought us this mess. We will ignore the noise. We'll keep doing what serious governments do. Protect workers, protect the public interest, move the project forward step by step in a way that is credible and sustainable. Grand Bahama deserve delivery, and they deserve honesty. They will get both from this administration. When history looks back on this period, it will ask a simple question. Did we protect the public interest? Did we confront outdated systems? Did we invest in people? Did we build an economy that could withstand shocks and create opportunities? This administration intends to answer yes to every one of those questions. We are on the right side of history because we choose progress over comfort. We chose reform over delay. We chose to believe in Grand Bahama's potential and to act on that belief.
Meanwhile, Davis said that his priority and the priority of his government is not to move fast to appease the masses, but to ensure that work is started and that work is completed. You all, let's jump right in. First, you heard Leader of the Opposition, Pintard, said, listen, hold up, man. You got 1 million plans on the drawing board for Grand Bahama, but where's the plan? Where are the details of the airport and this new airport, its location, the sort of the specs on that, how that's going to look, how it needs to look, then of course the hotel and so much more. Your thoughts on how Pintard is sort of saying, listen, either put up or
shut up. I mean, I always remind myself of that wonderful jingle that the PLP had so many decades ago, Progressive Liberal Party. I like that, you know. I always have to remind myself that the P stands for party. And we've been seeing a lot of parties thrown. Again, we've already heard the story. You said to clap us up for the heads of agreement signing. This was supposed to come and wrap up everything that was going on. An airport was supposed to be attached to it. This has been now over a year span, and we're still waiting. I concur with the Leader of the Opposition on this particular matter that it's a lot of talk and too little action. We've seen progress, yes, in other areas around the Bahamas, but Grand Bahama, the second city, they want to see some of the same things. Early in the news, Ginger was saying Grand Bahama is booming, you know, booming, boom, boom, boom. The people want to feel that. Why is it that we're still paying the ticket, the bill for these workers? Are we, the taxpayers, still paying the employees who were supposed to be long done, gone, and signed over? The hotel was supposed to be demolished. Is it indeed still standing? What's going on? So they did patch up the hole. It was all for a show. We're tired of the show. Show me more. Show me what you could do. Talk is cheap and money buy land. Is the 120 in the bank? That's all I want to know. Is the airport set to go? That's all I want to know. And this is all Grand Bahamians are saying. Show me what you could do. Shovel the dirt, dig the foundation. At least let me see the little steels. Pour the foundation. Pour the foundation at least before we go to the election.
Prime Minister Davis, this is your ship. The FNM got kicked out of office after 4.5 years of nothing happening in Grand Bahama. Stagnation. You are at the 4-year mark, over the 4-year mark, heading for 4.5 years. I don't want to, and I'm sure the Bahamian people don't want to. And yes, this is politics, the rhetoric. Mr. Pintard is doing what Mr. Pintard is supposed to do. He is opposing, he is in opposition. Now, I think he should do some things better. And sometimes I slap my good friend up, and I know he's probably upset with me. Well, he don't have to listen to me because I'm sure he is still standing and he is going to follow his dream into the next election, whether I say what I say or not. But here's the thing. Prime Minister Davis, you have to deliver. You can't say on one hand we have to pump the brakes and slow our roll with our expectations, but then you let the cat out of the bag prematurely on this announcement today. So, you know, we have to be fair and we have to be sensible. Mr. Pintard, to you, you are great and eloquent at saying the things that need to be said. What you're asking the Prime Minister for, as far as plans and all of this stuff, great, but don't stop there. What you have to say, in the absence of you saying that the Prime Minister isn't telling what's going on, you map out. But every time you open your mouth, come with a one-pager with a checklist of things that you are going to do. You and your alternative government are going to do once elected. But I will say again, stop reciting over and over exactly what is going on and stopping there. You have to say what you will do. You are trying to be a government, and a government is supposed to produce results.
Amen. I agree with you, Howard. And listen, you guys are so on spot. And I think the PLP has not done what they needed to do in the 4 or 5 years leading up in Grand Bahama. Grand Bahama is critical to the next election, and now it seems as if a lot of action is happening because we are the last hour. And so, you know, I'm disgusted when I ride through Grand Bahama that the place has not been resurrected yet. And but my thing is that, you know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, the F&M was in power. And they didn't do absolutely nothing either.
My minister and tell y'all can't see if it was COVID, it was the pandemic, it was Dorian.
Listen,
How many times minister gotta say the same thing?
Let me talk, you didn't talk. Let me talk, you didn't run on. But
you slick though, you slick.
I mean, you slick too.
You slick, Cassie.
You slick, we all slick. So listen, so 5 years minister's been there, you blame COVID, you ain't do nothing. Now you're out of opposition, you say you want to do all these things you didn't do. And so, for me, I think Grand Bahama is just sick and tired of all of the BS between back and forth. Quite frankly, they're sick and tired. Because there's no reason why the princess died the way she should have died. The reason why, she even didn't know Grand Bahama. The Princess Hotel, man.
Oh, sorry.
Say who?
You just caught off guard when you said princess.
Yeah. And so they know what I mean. So if you're from Grand Bahama, you know what I say, the princess. But, you know, the thing about it is that Grand Bahama is a critical powerhouse when it comes to the economy of the Bahamas. And my friends in the Port Authority, they've been trying their best to really jumpstart the engine. But you see, it's always a tug of war between the government and the port, and Grand Bahamians are caught in the middle, and they're sick and tired. They are the toughest set of Bahamians on the planet because they went through all them storms. They're dealing with they live in the government and the port, and they still surviving. But I think now we need solutions. I don't want to hear no BS about who do this and who ain't do this. I want solutions. Are we going to move forward? We're going to fix the airport. Why are we still in the container, in those containers that called airport? Are we going to build what we need? Proper hotel facilities for tourists? So we need to make sure get it right. I don't hear no bunch of stories no more. We didn't pass that. Grand Bahama needs help, and help needed now.
Bring the magic back, Cassius. Let's just bring the magic back.
I'll tell you, earlier this week when I spoke about Grand Bahama, again, you see me reading comments from people I don't know these comments, but they are talking about the turnaround in Grand Bahama and what's been happening, cab drivers. And so we continue to root for Grand Bahama. Yes, the airport, we want to see that. Yes, the hotel and all the other projects in the pipeline, we certainly want to see that. But let's move along, you all. This is quite interesting, a story. We were talking about this just before airtime. 2 adults and 3 juveniles are facing multiple charges following an alleged attack at Anatole Rogers High School last week. Prosecutors say 40-year-old Jamiko Powell, 20-year-old Doyle Bastian, and 3 teenage boys, including a 16-year-old, allegedly struck Principal Ricardo Patterson with a tire iron when he intervened during an incident involving a 15-year-old student. The principal reportedly suffered a broken right finger. So it seems like he was trying to part a fight or something was going on. These are just some animals. The accused appeared before Senior Magistrate Algernon Allen Jr., where they all denied charges of assault with a dangerous instrument and causing grievous harm. Bail was set at $5,000 and the trial is scheduled for April 22nd. Powell, Bastian, and the 2 teens also face separate charges for allegedly threatening a 13-year-old female student at the same school on the same day. They denied those charges and were each granted $1,000 bail, with their trial also set for April 22nd. Investigations into the matter continue. Listen, you all, I wanted to quickly get that in here because it's stunning the level of animalism that goes on among apparently lost, just shiftless people. I mean, a 40-year-old to a teenager, and this is how they behave and what they do.
Well, Shanique, what we're seeing happening is that, we really think that kids grow themselves up. We really think that in a society, we don't need social engineering. We need to reconstruct buildings. We need engineering for roads. We also need engineering for people. We have to curb negative behavior. And so we have to understand in a society, the leadership of a country is responsible for curbing behavior. We have to punish negative behavior. So when you read the Old Testament, right, God is very harsh when you read the Old Testament. If you do this, then these punishments. What he's trying to tell you is that we can curb those negative behaviors if you get out of line, because we want to make sure that you make the right decision. Is it possible for us to make the right decision? It is possible to make the right decision, but we need to make sure, instill in our young people that in the Bahamas, there's rules and order, there's a societal norms, and if you go against societal norms, you will be punished. Law, you don't ever break a law. We tell our children, you break yourself on the law, and that's why I taught my children. That's why they are disciplined. And so we need to teach the rest of the children of the Bahamas that if you violate the law, you will break yourself on the law.
The parents are equally to blame in a lot of these cases, because the second you even try to correct a child, I remember growing up, any adult, my mommy used to slap first and ask questions later. Now, all of a sudden, it's abuse. I mean, it may have been, but I don't know. But we turned into pretty decent citizens of the Commonwealth Bahamas.
We surely did.
This
sort of safe parenting is ruining kids' lives, communities, school campuses, obviously, and families.
Any adult could have corrected us, Shanique. You outside when your parent gone out and they leave you in the house, get your tail in there. Now, if a teacher calls the parent saying that the child did something, the parents cuss them out. Right. What do you mean Johnny did so and so? They come into the school to deal with that teacher. So now a lot of teachers even live in fear, like this poor principal only trying to probably save lives on the campus, save them from killing each other. And their defense attorney really should have told them to plead guilty and stop wasting the court's time. Because why you coming there clearly involved in a brawl and pleading innocent?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Shanique, see, we have all of these social problems Gabby and Cassie has talked about, and we could talk about that until the chicken grow teeth. But we are where we are. And so when juveniles engage in delinquent behavior like this, what has to happen is the full extent of the law has to be brought to bear. So you ain't steal out the tuck, steal a O. Henry out the tuck shop, or put a banana in your teacher tailpipe. That's juvenile stuff that we used to do in school when we were kids. And you could understand that behavior and punish it accordingly, right? Within the confines of the school structure. But if you take the ages of these young men out and take it out of the school and just talk about the crimes themselves, we're talking about assault, we're talking about threats, we're talking about big boy and big man criminal behavior.
That's right. That's right.
$1,000 bail. No, y'all gonna stay in prison.
They should stay incarcerated.
Get charged as adults,
absolutely.
And y'all are gonna stay in prison until y'all trial date, because y'all commit big man crimes, and y'all need to face big man consequences. Absolutely. We have to stop playing around and playing games. When you are committing crimes like an adult, you need to be charged as an adult.
When you're acting like Animal Farm, then you get what animals get.
Cat Nine Tail and Rawson Square. These young people need punishment.
And you're so right. I mean, no regard for authority. Listen, on the school campus, the principal is the authority figure. How can you go there?
But the Ministry of Education restrain these principals. They can't discipline nobody no more. We can't discipline in school. So we got to make sure let them know that. Them corporal punishment, we need to put them back. We need to make sure these little children whip their tail when they out of hand. You ain't got time to play with them.
We all support
Don't
that.
slap up with them children. Beat them.
Even let the janitress beat you. Let the janitress even beat you.
And if the parents come, you lock up the parents and you beat them too. Take them to Rawson Square and you get them the Cat Nine Tail. Don't play with them.
Thank you very much, Cassius, Gabrielle, Howard. Thank you all very, very much. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, the Nurses Union President Maria Lightborn is here, and she says, listen, Michael Darville, get it together. We'll hear more from her right after the break.
Fly fishing for me is kind of a way of life. My father was one of the pioneers that started the fly fishing industry.
I grew up around the industry, but it was mostly spin fishing until the invention of the fly that changed the whole fly fishing industry as we know it today.
Well, fly fishing, in my opinion, is an art form that subscribes to artificially inducing a fish to take a lure.
It's fishing, but it's more like hunting than anything else.
So it is hunting, one aspect of it is, and the second of it is creating a lure that you are imitating that is of the environment.
You're actually stimulating the bite by them visually seeing the actual lure that you're sending to them.
Crazy Charlie is the fly that revolutionized, as we know, the saltwater fly fishing industry. It was invented by my father. He recalls seeing the bonefish chasing a little bait fish called a minnow. He took a couple chicken feathers and some bead eyes of a military tag, and that was the beginning of the advancement of saltwater fly fishing industry on the flats as we know it today. The importance of that fly allow you to be able to fish for bonefish in various depths of water.
Captain Rupert Lead, my dad, who's also a pioneer in the industry, his fly was called the gotcha fly, and it emulates two things: the minnows, which is a small bait fish, and also a shrimp pattern. See, there's so many legends that I'm now standing on. Percy Darville, Ivan Nemo, who would have passed, Raymond Mackey, you've got Sidney Nemore, Carl Moxie. These guys were filled with knowledge. They were self-imposed scientists. They saw these fish act in a certain way, and they know how to target them on specific tides. I feel extremely proud to carry the baton on, knowing that I can actually teach other youngsters how to carry the mantra, and they themselves can pass it on to other generations.
The race to 2026 is heating up, and the nation's voice is louder than ever. Here on Beyond the Headlines, we're checking the mood, the momentum, and the message of the people. I'm Shanique Miller. Each week, we're taking the temperature of the electorate to see what's really driving the nation. Who's connecting? Who's cooling off? What issues are heating up ahead of 2026? This is Temperature Check 2026, where journalism meets the nation's heartbeat.
So you want a space, but not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience, with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. President of the Bahamas Nurses Union, Muriel Lightbourne, is slamming Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael Darville for his comments in the media concerning the overtime pay issue. Darville, while in Grand Bahama just a day or so ago, told reporters that he only found out about the Public Hospitals Authority exhausted budget, this is the overtime budget, days before the notice was sent to healthcare workers. Lightbourne admonished Dr. Darville to shift his focus from the new specialty hospital to the current healthcare facilities, which she claims are near a state of disrepair. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. Madam President, it's good to have you here. Good evening to you.
Good evening to you, and good evening, Bahamas.
So you say Dr. Darville is distracted?
He is. He's not focusing. Dr. Darville, I believe I came into, as the president, I figured then that Dr. Darville was not focused. My thing, why I would say something like that, who in their right mind is going to tell me, or are you going to tell the Bahamian people that you are engaging or repairing 20-something clinics simultaneously, all at one time.
Speak right in there.
All at one time. Why are you repairing all these clinics all at one time? It's been 3 years now and not one is completed. Come on, you're making no
hold
sense.
on. You were saying that in his term as Minister of Health, he took on the repair and renovation of 20 clinics nationwide,
clinics,
obviously,
yes.
more than 20 nationwide.
Yes.
But not one he can look at and say, but how about the one in somewhere in Eleuthera?
And they didn't do that. The people did that.
Yeah.
The people did that. And my point of the matter is, I could see you saying healthcare. I could see you saying, well, let me try to repair 3 of them. The clinic in Palmetto
Sort
Point.
of bite off bits at a time.
And then you could say, you could look back and say, well, I did this. The clinic in Palmetto Point, for example, that being in a house for must be 4 years before I was elected. And they went there for 4 days, my understanding is. So now they're still in that same house at 7 years. What this is?
7
the
years.
children of
7
Israel
years.
wandering in the wilderness.
7 years later.
Come on.
You, according to you, and saying that he
ready.
is distracted, what is that? What has resulted in your saying and feeling he's been distracted with doing all those other things except what should be done?
You're the Minister of Health. You telling me that you don't know that you have exhausted the budget and the people that are working under you can't be paid? Come on, something have to be wrong with that, where your mind is.
But let's break this down a bit. This is the overtime budget we're talking about?
This is the overtime budget. But guess what, Shanique? Okay, they sent out this memo saying that, obviously, first of all, I know how it slip out. You know how things is get out in this behemoth society, right? Because it obviously wasn't sent to us, none of our union presidents in PHA. But it went out, and you're saying that overtime can't be paid, right? They're saying that as of January 2026, any overtime now have to be approved, payments have to be approved by the managing director. Who you telling when I don't go to work that I have to get paid depending on your approval? You got to be.
No, but it can't be after you would have worked the overtime
after you
hours.
have worked.
Okay, what is the issue? When did this new policy come into place? Because normally you would be approved for your overtime or get it by some supervisor, and you go and you work that, and you know that guess what? At the end of the month, payment will be there.
You get your pay, right? So the thing is, they're rationalizing, saying that they had exhausted the overtime budget. But this is what they said, right, about the overtime. But guess what? Payday rolling today, right? Nurses saying get paid for the public holiday, they don't work. Nurses saying get paid, some nursing officers saying get their duty nursing officer pay. Like all you got, all the nurses look forward to today was their basic salary after everything else was taken out, what was supposed to have been out. So come on, what you doing?
Has this ever happened before? I mean, I know the public healthcare system been having and saddled with issues. I understand that, but has this issue with pay and overtime pay and holiday pay and all the rest of this?
No, never. It's never been happening. I don't even know what is going on. We have, especially with our ground staff, if you work, you get paid. If you work in January, you do an overtime in January before the pay list go in, you can get paid the next month. So why are you telling me that I only can get paid now when you approve it? That doesn't make sense.
And these people worked all over the holidays. And listen,
Shanae, you should have seen accident and emergency over the holiday.
So they had extended hours, and many of them
they were short-staffed.
Couldn't go and seek approval because they couldn't leave. You're saying
they couldn't leave, and these persons were short-staffed, and they give it their all. And you could come and tell me, no.
Where does the PHA fall into this? I mean, because what's happening? You say, Dr. Darville. I mean, I don't understand. Make the rest of us outsiders or sort of on the sidelines understand exactly how this will be addressed.
We are still waiting. On Monday, Shanique, this is another blower. On Monday, the managing director and her persons had a meeting, a Zoom meeting. They call a general meeting after all of this would have come out. So they call a meeting. A meeting would lasted 16 minutes. You call a meeting to tell the people what was going to transpire, and because of the notice that would have already gone out, 16 minutes. The meeting started at 11:17, ended at 11:33. You said nothing. Nothing different than what was in fact. First, she didn't send, the managing director said she didn't send out that letter, first of all. Then they saying, oh, we're going to pay you. We don't know how. They've never given, they did not give anybody a definite date on when they're going to be paid, right? They never spoke on this new policy that, okay, if you work the overtime, you cannot be paid unless the managing director approves it. None of that was addressed. The only thing that was said in that meeting was what was written in the first memo.
Okay, have you gone to try have addressed this policy that overtime must now be approved?
No, we're not in no conversation, because listen to this. On the meeting, I was in the meeting. I believe other presidents would have been in the meeting. 16 minutes after the meeting was over, after the managing director said what she had to say, before you had a chance to say, when will this be paid? All you saw was House has ended the meeting.
Oh, it was an online meeting?
It was an online meeting. House has ended the meeting. Nobody had no chance to ask one question.
Okay, now it's Wednesday though, and Wednesday evening. What has transpired between Monday morning and now Wednesday night that you can say, listen, this is what my members can now look forward to, or this is the new agreement?
Well, before I came to the meeting,
and Dr. Davil did say he will look into it, did he not?
He said he's going to look into it, but they say plenty things. They're going to look into plenty things. And Shanique, a comfort, they tell me, a promise is a comfort to a fool. I have nurses inside Ministry of Health, DPH, from October. They have not been paid overtime. From October of last year, they have not been paid overtime. This ministry look like they are good at taking things from their employees than giving. We have nurses who their salary is being deducted as I speak from June. I have a nurse whose salary has been deducted some $600 a month, and nobody yet has told her why this money is being deducted out of her salary. Come on.
Madam President, but you're the president of the Nurses Union. How do you explain that? Deducted $600 for what? Is she,
and listen
is she
to this.
owing, is she trying to build a new
Nobody
wing
is
somewhere?
explaining. I went to, and she's not the only person. So I went to the PS. I'm being nice and courteous and everything else. And I'm saying, listen, explain to this. The only thing I got is, are they doing an investigation? They'll have to find out why this money is coming out.
But
it's going to take you.
But it continues.
But the deductions continues. Now, the thing about it is, it started, I had to ask the nurse, when she came to me, I think that was a month or two ago, I said, girl, you used to make plenty of money. Hey, you can let somebody take $600 from your salary from June, and you just bringing it to their attention. But I'm saying to you, they always looking into things. They always doing things, Shanique, and like, it's not important. It appears that the workers, it's just not important.
Make an appeal to the Minister of Health and even maybe the PHA, whomever it is you feel as though you can tomorrow.
Well,
bring everybody to the table and have this matter addressed, because I'll tell you, everybody has needs. Everyone, those nurses you speak of, they have needs. They obviously they loved working the overtime, knowing what the rewards would be, and the compensation, and so obviously they didn't work on slack, and so they look forward to this to be able to do more.
And they're looking forward to it. Shanique, just before I came here, I had a meeting because, listen, from 6 o'clock this morning, I was getting calls. Oh, Madam President, I get this. I went to the bank and I get my public holiday pay. I get this pay. The nursing officer, the duty nursing officers ain't get their duty nursing officer allowance. Everything. My phone was ringing. Just before I came here, I had a meeting. The nurses say, Madam President, I'm sick.
Oh, they're trying.
I am sick. I can't work and not be paid. I am sick. The nurse said, Mom, my stomach broke down when I saw my check this month.
Are the nurses trying to basically suggest to you that if this is not sorted out,
they are sick? I can't work. I can't come to work and not be paid. And so I suggest that there needs to be a sit down. You don't just, and what made it even worse with the meeting on Monday, it was like the nurses came out of it like, all she did was she pushed down our throat what she wanted to say and not even give us an opportunity to ask one question. How disrespectful.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you in all fairness to Dr. Aubernet Roll, or Ms. Aubernet Roll, I did reach out to her. I extended an invitation. That invitation is open, whether it's tomorrow or whenever you're ready. Dr. Michael Darville as well. I certainly, of course, try to reach out to him because I like to get responses from something a union president or anybody would say, just so that we all have maybe a better appreciation for what's happening or what's going on right now, and when payment would come, and even the claims of salary being deducted of nurses who are stumped as to why. And so I did reach out. I made attempts on Monday, and I was not granted the interview. But again, this evening you heard the president here, so certainly, of course, you're welcome to respond once again.
And Sinead, not only that, we have so much issues, especially when it comes to salary. Our industrial agreement says that our nursing officers 2 and above, they normally work sessionals. But when you work public holiday, they are paid double pay, right? That's the law states that anyway. But why is it that I have to keep going to these people and saying, listen, why are you not paying the nurses their double pay that they're entitled to? And everybody taking you around the mulberry bush and say, oh, you're waiting on one answer, one go ahead from corporate, from PHA corporate to put, Miss Miller. And then they're wondering why nurses are leaving. They ain't gonna put up with that. Who can put up with that? How long you can put up with that?
President of the Bahamas Nurses Union, Maria Lightbourne, thank you very much for being here this evening. Once again, Beyond the Headlines reached out to and spoke with a PHA requesting an interview. That invitation is still on the table because certainly you would want to come and respond to this, much of what was said here this evening. And so certainly that invitation is on the table and will remain there. Also to the Minister of Health. We want to know so that we can kind of just have a more balanced view of what's happening in the Ministry of Health and overtime pay and holiday pay and all the rest of it. Yes. I thank you once again, Madam President. Thank you for being here. Of course, to my Hot Topics panel, thank you very much for being here this evening. I certainly enjoyed having you all along. And then to all of you watching this evening and all of you participating, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for your comments, your thoughts, all the rest of it. That's how we do here, particularly in this season, get you involved as well. So thank you so much for participating this evening, and thank you for tuning in. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a great evening, everyone.